Hey yarn friends, it's Amanda of Banshee Dyes and I am here with another video for y'all. This one will be a little different than our usual vlogs because we are going over the first month of our yarn club this year. So quick intro, I'm Amanda at Stitch Banshee on Instagram and I am the dyer behind Banshee Dyes. So you can find me at Banshee Dyes on Instagram, or you could shop all of the yarn clubs, all that good stuff at bansheedyes.etsy.com. Great. The yarn club this year is based on one of my all-time favorite books, The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. This is an amazing anthology of short stories, and they are all inspired by interpretations, loose adaptations of fairy tales. There are 10 of them. So every month between February and November, we're gonna read one of Angela Carter's fairy tales and dye up a skein of yarn and a whole box of goodies to go with it. And then we'll meet back here, talk about the story, go through all of the fun stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I had so much fun dyeing up February's yarn. February was the titular story, The Bloody Chamber, based off of Bluebeard, which is a French folktale. Look at that! It's so beautiful. It's this deep murky red, the mark of the key. So that is February's colorway. Now the box is already shipped. Y'all should have your yarn. If you missed out, you're just gonna have to catch us next time. This is a limited edition colorway exclusive to the yarn box. I may have some mini sets up at the end that'll have a little mini skein of each of the colors. But those are going to be very limited quantity, so don't count on it. You'll have to catch us for March. Pre-orders for March are open right now. We'll be reading The Courtship of Mr. Lyon, which is based on Beauty and the Beast. So those will be open until March 5th, at which point I'll dye everything up, send it out, and then we will meet back here to talk about the fairy tale. Great. The boxes will have different items. So there's not, you're always gonna get a skein of yarn. That's the given. The rest of the little items will be a mystery colorway or design, but you'll know what's in the box, if that makes sense. So this month we had the skein of yarn, and then we knew we were getting a 5 stitch marker set, a magnet, and some chocolate. And that's all you know. You don't know what color it is, none of that. Now those extra items besides the yarn could vary. So some months I might be into cross stitch. We could do like a little embroidery kit. That would be a lot of fun. I do a lot of sewing, so we might have a project bag add-on one month. Been into socks recently. March is going to have a mini skein for your heels and cuff for your socks. So it'll vary month to month, which means the price point is also going to vary. So we can have complete creative control, right? So some months will be different. It's going to be lots of variety. Very excited. Let's do the big box reveal. So you guys have seen the mark of the key. This was the colorway for February for the Bloody Chamber. Let's see if I can get a little closer. Do y'all see that? It is a beautiful deep oxblood red. There's a lot of variegation. There's some bright spots, some black spots. I am so pleased with how this colorway turned out. This is that cursed smudge on our heroine's forehead, where the Marquis places the key up against her head, and she views it as a shameful reminder for the rest of her life of her encounter with the Marquis. So a very appropriate color for the Bloody Chamber. There also is a 5 stitch marker set. So the key charm in the middle is a lobster clasp removable style stitch marker, and then there are also 4 glass bead ring style stitch markers. So those are knitting only, but the Progress Keeper, the removable, you could use for crochet as well. There's that set. I also made these little watercolor buttons. I had so much fun with these, picking out little motifs from the story that really spoke to me. So there's the lily, all of the lilies from the bridal chamber, definitely foreshadowing doom and death. The piano, our heroine plays the piano and she ends up running off with the piano tuner. And then the key to the Bloody Chamber that seals her fate. These were handmade watercolor, so every single one is going to look a little different. But I had a lot of fun with it. And then I just got these made, y'all. They are magnets with the logo for Banshee Dyes, a little bit of swag. So I'm very excited to share these. I've got mine on my refrigerator, and then I have a like magnet board that I put notes on in the corner of the craft room, so I have one over there too. But yeah, little swag. And then the last item in the box was a sweet treat, and I did not skimp on chocolate. So a full-size chocolate bar, dark chocolate. I love this endangered species. It's fair trade and it's just yummy. So I packaged these in Ziploc bags, so you don't have to worry about your yarn. I know it's February, so it's not a huge concern right now, but come July, if I do include any sort of candy, whatnot, I'm gonna have it in a Ziploc, so if it melts, you'll have misshapen chocolate and nice clean yarn, right? You don't have to worry about the yarn getting messy, which is a big concern. That's what we're all here for, right? Is the yarn. Great, so the February box, you got all 5 of those items, and the colorways, the designs, it was all a mystery, but we knew beforehand exactly which items were going to be in there. Great. Let's dive into the story. So I went on Wikipedia beforehand and I looked up a few things so that I would have talking points. And let me know in the comments below if y'all want to do either a Zoom or an Instagram live, a YouTube live. We could do more of a collaborative book club style video as well. That would be a lot of fun. So, the Bloody Chamber. This fairy tale is based on Bluebeard, which I had never heard of before reading this book, but is a well-known French folktale by Charles Perrault, who I also did not know before this Wikipedia session, but he is a big shot in the fairy tale world. So 1700s, that's 100 years before the Brothers Grimm, and the Brothers Grimm were German. Charles Perrault is French. He was the original guy who wrote a bunch of these fairy tales. So Bluebeard. He's also known for Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Little Red Riding Hood, Puss in Boots, like the real deal. And Angela Carter, before writing The Bloody Chamber, she translated his fairy tales into English. Wasn't the first to do so, but that was a project of hers. So her adaptations are based on those original French fairy tales, as opposed to newer adaptations. Yeah, Charles Perrault, the more you know. So The Bloody Chamber is one of the longer stories in the book. I believe, yeah, it's a good 45 pages, and the rest of them are anywhere from 2 to 10 to 20 pages. So it is the longest by far. And it very much follows that original Bluebeard fairy tale. The plot is nigh identical. There's a rich man who has mysteriously, all of his wives have gone missing. And it's because he murders them. Spoilers. The new wife comes along, and he gives her a key, a set of keys. She's allowed to go anywhere in his huge castle except for the dungeon. And she inevitably goes into the dungeon where she finds the corpses of all of his ex-wives. And the same deal. The rich man, Bluebeard, presses the key against her forehead, and that removes the magical smudge of blood that would not come off of the key. So Angela Carter's fairy tale follows nearly the same plot, but it does so in a way that challenges a lot of traditional fairy tale tropes, which I think is just wonderful, the way that she writes these. So it's got a very gothic horror feel to it, right? The torture chamber, the big castle. It's not that time period, right? Our heroine, she takes the train. She calls her mother on the phone. So it's a smidge more modern, but it still has all of those dark themes, which is so delightful, so gruesome. And then there is the feminist twist, right? Instead of most fairy tales being like a third person, this one, the narrator, the heroine herself, gets to tell the story. She's telling her own story. She's warning women not to fall prey to dangerous men the way that she did, and she's able to empower herself by telling her own story, which is not the way that most fairy tales go. There's also the familial relationship between the heroine and her mother. A lot of fairy tales will have the mother die, or an evil stepmother comes along who never loved the girl in the fairy tale. But that is not at all the case here. The heroine's mother is from the get-go described as this incredibly strong world-traveling woman who's been all over the place. From the beginning, she asks the heroine if she even loves the Marquis, if she wants to get married, right, implying that she would be willing to continue living in poverty for her daughter, right? She wants her daughter to be happy. So there's a lot of love there, right? The mother-daughter bond. And it's her mother who eventually comes and saves the heroine, right at the last minute there. She swoops in and shoots the Marquis with their father's old service revolver. The heroine didn't need a man to come save her. She befriends the piano tuner, and they eventually end up together and fall in love and whatnot. and he's a kind man, but he is not the one who saves her. It's her mother. Because they had such a strong bond, her mom knew from that first phone call that something must be wrong, right? And she came immediately before there even was trouble, before she even had seen the bloody chamber or all of the Marquis's dead wives. Super touching, y'all. Yeah, I think that it is wonderful, and I so enjoy reading fairy tales and all the different adaptations. But as we read these modern ones, it is great to see them retold in a way that is less you better not go into the woods because people will hurt you and it'll be your fault, and more you need to be strong enough to ask for help from your family, and that when people hurt you, it's their deal. So yeah, a very modern retelling. Not so modern. I think this was the 80s, 1979. So there's definitely, it could be even better. Let's see. I also wanted to talk about some of the foreshadowing, which is less than subtle, and I think that that is on purpose, because our heroine she's alive, she makes it, and she's telling it from the future. When you look back on things, it always seems so much more obvious. So when she goes into the bridal chamber and there are lilies everywhere, so many that it seems like a funeral parlor, right? She's going into this new marriage, and it's not a new chapter of her life, it's the beginning of her doom, of her death, because that's what the Marquis likes. He likes his wives dead. He makes her wear the ruby necklace, and he kisses the rubies before he kisses her. He's more invested in his wealth and in beautiful objects than his wife as a woman. She uses the word impale. The Marquis impaled her, which is right, straight up very death language, very murdery. And then I had to look this bit up, but the portrait of Saint Cecilia on the wall, she is known for being decapitated. Okay. That was hard, y'all. We might have to do it more book club style. I am not a lecturer, and I haven't read with an eye for analysis in quite some time. But it is a lot of fun, right, to look deeper into the things that we read, and why the author might use a certain word over another, and what she might intend by that. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the Bloody Chamber, and some points that you may have noticed that I just glanced through. I'm very excited for our next one, and I have a whip that I already started with Mark of the Key. I wanted to show y'all how it knits up. I am making just a little vanilla sock using the key shaped stitch marker. Been all about socks recently, so I'll post a nicer picture on Instagram so you could really see. But it is a beautiful tonal. There is a lot going on, but it overall looks from a distance like one color. But there's little pops of that brighter red. There's little bits of the darker black. It is just a beautiful color, exactly what I intended, which is not always how it turns out. Yes, so I am personally planning on making some socks, or a little hat or mittens, you know, a tiny project with my skein every month, and then saving enough. I would absolutely love to have a striped shawl with each of the different 10 colors. So I've been on the prowl for a pattern that I enjoy, so that I could have the entire Bloody Chamber collection together, as she wrote it, right? To be enjoyed together. So that was February's Yarn Club, the Bloody Chamber. Yeah, go ahead and join us for March, the Courtship of Mr. Leone. That's bansheedyes.etsy.com. That's where you could pick that one up. And I'll just tell y'all a little preview. I've been all about socks recently. So this box is going to include the single skein of sock yarn, but it will also have a mini skein for your heels and your toes and your cuff, 20 grams, and a hand-sewn double-pointed needle case. I'll pick out some cotton quilting fabric that either coordinates with the color or one of the motifs of the story. And you don't have to use any of these items for socks, though that's what I will be doing. The double-pointed needle case will be long, big enough to hold like not a full-size pencil, but like if you have a pencil that's been shortened by an inch or two, the pencil could fit in there. You could put your stitch markers, a darning needle, just a tiny little notions case for your project bag. And the mini skeins are good for all sorts of things. You could use it to make tassels or pom-poms, as color work, a cute brim on a beanie. There's lots of stuff that mini skeins are great for. And then there will be more chocolate because I am a sugar fiend. And I think the last item was a sticker. Yes. We'll see how it goes. I might have to commission my little sister, but I'd like to draw up a sticker for the Courtship of Mr. Leone. So yes, excited for y'all to join us in March. Go ahead and hit up the Etsy shop. You can see pictures of all of the yarn and whatnot that I've shown you on Instagram at Banshee Dyes. And last, I will leave you. Yeah, let's talk about it. I have one extra skein, this skein of Mark of the Key. One extra skein I dyed up, and I just started an email newsletter. So the first email is going out tomorrow morning, and all of my email subscribers will go into a big pot, and I'll pick a name out of it, and that person will win this skein of Mark of the Key. So if you missed out on February, no big deal. Come join my email subscriber list. I'll send out newsletters once or twice a month when I've got new videos up or new yarn clubs, all that fun stuff. I'll probably throw in what I'm working on that's not at all related to Banshee Dyes, because I do love supporting other makers. There's plenty of room for us all, and someone will win this skein of yarn. Yeah, that is all that I've got for this month. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all in March. Yeah.